Some of the most painful mistakes a man makes don't happen because he ignores the warning signs. They happen because he explains them away. He tells himself she's just stressed, she's been through a lot, she didn't really mean that. And little by little, he starts doubting something that was clear the very first time he felt it. That quiet feeling in his chest, the one that whispered, "Something isn't right." If you've ever ignored that feeling because you wanted the relationship to work more than you wanted the truth, then stay with me. And if conversations like this help you see people and yourself a little more clearly, consider subscribing. There's a good chance you'll find something here that stays with you long after this video ends. One of the hardest parts about attraction is that it changes how we interpret reality. Not because we're weak, because hope is persuasive. Hope has a way of editing memories. You remember the sweet moments more vividly than the confusing ones. You replay her smile, instead of replaying the silence that followed when you needed reassurance. That's something I've watched happen over and over again. Men who are intelligent, kind, emotionally aware, still convince themselves that discomfort is just part of loving someone. Sometimes it is. Relationships aren't supposed to feel perfect. But there is a difference between temporary discomfort and a pattern that slowly teaches you to stop trusting yourself. That difference is easy to miss, especially when feelings are involved. Imagine this. You send her a message. Nothing dramatic, just something simple. Hours pass. Then almost a day. Finally, she replies as if nothing happened. You mention that it bothered you. She laughs softly. You're overthinking. So you wonder, maybe I am. Maybe I expected too much. And that's where something very small begins. Not an argument, not a breakup, a habit. You stop bringing things up. Not because they stopped hurting, because you're afraid of sounding difficult. It's amazing how quietly people can abandon their own needs. No one notices. Sometimes not even them. One misunderstanding doesn't define a person. Neither does one bad day. That's important to remember. People get overwhelmed. People shut down. People make mistakes. Healthy relationships survive those moments all the time. But when one pattern keeps repeating, when every conversation somehow ends with you apologizing for having feelings, it's worth paying attention. Not because she's necessarily trying to hurt you. Sometimes people protect themselves in unhealthy ways without realizing it. Sometimes they learn that growing up. Sometimes fear makes people defensive. Understanding that can create compassion. But compassion shouldn't require you to disappear. There's a quiet line between empathy and self-erasure. Many men cross it without noticing. I once spoke with someone who described his relationship in a way I haven't forgotten. He said, "I always felt like I was one conversation away from getting the woman I met in the beginning back. One conversation, one better apology, one more chance, one more weekend together." He wasn't chasing a woman anymore. He was chasing a memory. And memories are dangerous because they never argue with you. They only show you the version you wish still existed. Real people change, sometimes for the better, sometimes not. The difficult part is accepting which version is standing in front of you today, instead of loving the version that only exists inside your hope. There's another detail almost nobody talks about. When someone slowly teaches you to question your own emotional reality, the damage doesn't feel dramatic. It feels ordinary. You hesitate before speaking. You rehearse texts 3 times. You wonder whether you're asking for too much, before you've even asked for anything. At first, it seems like you're becoming more patient. Later, you realize you've become afraid, and fear has a strange way of dressing itself up as love. That is where the first hidden sign begins to reveal itself. But it doesn't look anything like most men expect. The first hidden sign isn't that she gets angry. It isn't that she pulls away. It isn't even that she says something hurtful. It's what happens to you after those moments. You begin editing yourself before she ever has the chance to react. Read that again in your own mind. Not because it's dramatic, because it's subtle. You stop telling that joke because she rolled her eyes the last time. You don't mention meeting your friends because she became distant afterward. You decide not to share what upset you because you're already preparing yourself to hear, "You're making a big deal out of nothing." No one told you to become quieter, and yet, you did. That kind of change rarely happens overnight. It arrives one small compromise at a time. A sentence swallowed here, a feeling ignored there, until one day you realize you've become unusually careful around the person who once made you feel completely relaxed. That doesn't automatically mean she's a bad person. Sometimes people are carrying fears they don't know how to express. Some learn to protect themselves with criticism. Some grew up believing closeness meant control. Human beings are complicated, but whatever explains the behavior, you still have to live with its effect, and that's what matters. Think about the last time you felt completely at ease with someone. Not entertained, not impressed, safe. You didn't measure every word. You weren't calculating how your opinion might be received. You didn't wonder whether honesty would create distance. You simply existed. There's a quiet kind of peace in that. Real connection often feels surprisingly ordinary. It doesn't require constant emotional gymnastics. It doesn't leave you exhausted after every conversation. It gives you room to breathe. When breathing starts feeling difficult, it's worth asking why. Not accusing, not blaming, just asking, because questions protect us. Assumptions rarely do. I've noticed something else over the years. Many men believe strength means enduring discomfort, so they stay. Long after curiosity has turned into confusion, long after confusion has turned into anxiety. They tell themselves, real love takes work. It does. But work and walking on eggshells aren't the same thing. Healthy effort usually brings two people closer. Fear slowly pushes them apart. The difference can be hard to notice while you're inside it. It's easier to see afterward. That's why so many men look back and say, "I knew something felt off months earlier." They did know. They simply didn't trust what they knew. Hope spoke louder. Now imagine another scene. You're sitting across from her at dinner. Everything looks normal. People around you would probably think you're a happy couple. She smiles. You smile back. Then you mention something important to you. Maybe a new goal. Maybe a problem at work. Maybe something you've been carrying quietly for weeks. She barely looks up. The conversation somehow turns back to her. Again. At first, you don't think much of it. Everyone has distracted days. But then you remember, this isn't the first time, or the fifth. Whenever you're vulnerable, the moment slips away. It's as if your inner world keeps getting interrupted before anyone actually visits it. Loneliness inside a relationship feels different from loneliness when you're single. When you're single, you miss connection. When you're with someone who rarely sees you, you start missing yourself. That's a heavier feeling, one many men struggle to describe. There are relationships where both people talk, and there are relationships where one person slowly becomes the emotional audience. Listening, supporting, understanding, adjusting, waiting for the day the same curiosity comes back in return. Sometimes it does. Sometimes life simply gets busy. But sometimes it never comes. Not because she doesn't enjoy your company, not because she wants to hurt you, because somewhere along the way, she became comfortable receiving your attention without learning how to truly offer hers. That imbalance often grows quietly. So quietly that neither person notices at first, until one begins feeling emotionally invisible. And invisible people don't usually leave because of one argument. They leave because hundreds of small moments whispered the same message. Your inner world isn't very important here. But that still isn't the sign that changes everything. Because the next one doesn't just affect your confidence, it quietly changes the way you see reality itself. There's a strange moment that happens in some relationships. You walk away from a conversation, and instead of thinking about what was said, you start wondering whether you even remember it correctly. That feeling is unsettling, not because you forgot, because you're no longer sure you can trust your own experience. At first it seems harmless. You remember her making a promise. Later she says she never did. You bring up something that hurt you. She insists you misunderstood. You recall the look on her face, the silence, the words. Yet somehow, by the end of the conversation, you're apologizing for bringing it up. Now, this doesn't always mean someone is intentionally trying to confuse you. Memory is imperfect. Two people can genuinely remember the same moment differently. That happens more often than people realize. But if you're constantly leaving conversations feeling smaller, more confused, and less certain of yourself, it's worth paying attention. Because healthy relationships usually make difficult conversations feel clearer over time, not foggier. I remember talking with a man who said something that stayed with me. He wasn't angry, he wasn't bitter, just tired. He looked down for a moment and said, "I started writing things down because I thought I was losing my mind." That sentence wasn't really about memory, it was about trust. Not trust in her, trust in himself. Think about how heavy that becomes. When your first instinct is no longer, "I know what I felt," instead it's, "Maybe I'm imagining it." That kind of doubt reaches far beyond a relationship. It follows you into work, friendships, family, even the quiet moments when you're alone. Because once you stop trusting your own emotional compass, every decision starts feeling uncertain. There's another hidden sign that often hides behind charm. In the beginning, she seems fascinated by everything about you. Your hobbies, your stories, the little habits that make you different. She laughs at things no one else notices. She remembers details. You feel deeply seen. Then slowly, those same qualities begin to irritate her. The hobby becomes a waste of time. Your quiet personality becomes boring. Your kindness becomes too sensitive. The ambition she admired now means you're never around enough. Again, this doesn't always happen because someone is pretending. People change, expectations change, life changes. But there's an important question hiding underneath. Does she still appreciate who you are, or only who she hoped you would become? Those are very different kinds of love. One accepts, the other constantly negotiates. You might notice something else. You start chasing approval that used to come naturally. You dress differently, talk differently, laugh differently. You become more impressive, but somehow feel less authentic. And here's the painful part. The more approval depends on changing yourself, the less satisfying it becomes. Because even when she finally smiles, a quiet voice inside asks, "Would she still smile if I stopped trying this hard?" That's not insecurity speaking. Sometimes it's intuition asking a question you've been avoiding. There's a reason emotionally healthy relationships often feel surprisingly calm. Not boring, calm. You don't have to earn affection every week. You don't feel like you're auditioning for a role you've already been given. You don't wonder whether today's version of you will finally be enough. Affection isn't used as a reward. Respect isn't handed out only when you perform well. Instead, there's consistency. Not perfection, consistency. And consistency creates something many people underestimate. Peace. Real peace. Not the kind that comes from never disagreeing, the kind that comes from knowing disagreements won't suddenly make love disappear. That's a powerful feeling. Many men don't realize how much they miss it until they experience it. But perhaps the most dangerous sign isn't confusion, or criticism, or emotional distance. It's what happens when you begin believing that this is simply how relationships are supposed to feel. That love is always exhausting. That anxiety is proof you care. That constantly proving your worth is normal. Those beliefs don't appear overnight. They grow quietly, almost invisibly. And once they settle in, they can follow you into your next relationship, even if the next woman has never asked you to carry that weight. That's why what comes next matters so much. Because the next hidden sign doesn't just reveal something about her, it reveals something you've slowly started believing about yourself. There's a quiet sentence I hear from men more often than you might expect. Maybe I'm just asking for too much. It sounds humble, reasonable even, but sometimes it's the sentence that keeps someone trapped far longer than they should be. Because before you ask whether you're asking for too much, you have to ask something else. What exactly are you asking for? To be spoken to with respect? To know where you stand? To feel like your feelings matter, even when someone disagrees with them? Those aren't impossible expectations. They're the soil where trust grows. Without them, even the strongest attraction begins to feel fragile. Imagine you're driving home after spending the evening together. Nothing terrible happened. No shouting, no dramatic goodbye. But instead of feeling close, you're replaying every conversation in your head. Did I say something wrong? Was she upset when I mentioned that? Should I text first? Or wait? It's amazing how quickly the mind fills silence with self-blame, especially when silence has become unpredictable. One day she's warm, the next, distant, then affectionate again, then cold enough that you wonder if you've imagined the entire connection. Life can make anyone inconsistent sometimes. Stress changes people, grief changes people, pressure changes people. But when inconsistency becomes the emotional climate of the relationship, your nervous system begins adapting to uncertainty. You stop relaxing, you start monitoring, watching, measuring, trying to predict tomorrow from today's smallest clues. That's exhausting. Not because you're weak, because human beings aren't built to feel emotionally off balance all the time. There's something almost nobody notices. When affection becomes unpredictable, attention becomes addictive. Not because love has grown deeper, because certainty has grown weaker. Think about waiting for her text. You tell yourself you'll put the phone down. 5 minutes later, you check again. Nothing. 10 minutes. Again. Then finally, her name appears. Your heart lifts. Not because of what she wrote, because the waiting is over. Many men mistake that emotional rush for stronger love. Sometimes it's simply relief. And relief can feel intoxicating when you've been deprived of reassurance. That's why it's so easy to confuse emotional unpredictability with passion. From the inside, they can feel surprisingly similar, until one leaves you feeling alive and the other leaves you feeling drained. I once asked someone what he missed most after his relationship ended. I expected him to say her laugh or the trips they took together. Instead, he smiled sadly and said, "I miss who I was before I started questioning myself." That answer stayed with me. Because heartbreak isn't always about losing another person. Sometimes it's about realizing how much of yourself quietly disappeared while trying to keep someone else close. Your confidence, your spontaneity, the way you used to speak without rehearsing, the way you laughed without wondering if it was too loud. Those pieces rarely vanish all at once. They leave one by one, so quietly. You barely notice until they're gone. Now here's something important. Walking away from an unhealthy pattern doesn't automatically mean the other person is evil. People can care about you and still be unable to love in a healthy way. People can have good intentions and still leave emotional bruises they never meant to create. Understanding that doesn't mean you have to stay. Compassion and boundaries are not enemies. In fact, they often protect each other. You can wish someone healing, while also accepting that you cannot sacrifice your own peace to provide it. That's one of the hardest lessons emotional maturity teaches. Not everyone who touches your heart is meant to remain in your life. And then, there's the final hidden sign. It's quieter than all the others. No arguments, no confusion, no emotional games. Just one realization that arrives almost without warning. The day you look in the mirror and barely recognize the man who's been trying so hard to be enough. That's the moment everything can change. Because the question is no longer whether she truly sees you. The real question is whether you've stopped seeing yourself. And the answer to that question changes everything. If you've stayed with me this long, I don't think you're here because you're looking for reasons to give up on someone. Most men aren't. They're looking for one honest reason to keep believing. That's an important difference. The men who care deeply are often the ones who stay the longest, not because they enjoy suffering, because loyalty is part of who they are. They don't walk away after one disagreement. They don't expect perfection. They understand that love asks for patience. And that's a beautiful quality. until patience quietly becomes permission for your own needs to disappear. That's the line. Not always easy to see, but life has a way of revealing it. There comes a moment when you stop asking, "How do I make her understand me?" And you begin asking, "Why have I stopped understanding myself?" That question changes everything, because your attention shifts. Instead of watching every change in her mood, you begin noticing your own. You notice how often you're anxious before seeing her, how relieved you feel after leaving, how careful you've become with ordinary conversations. Those aren't final answers. They're invitations to be curious. Curious without blaming. Curious without pretending everything is fine. Sometimes the clearest truth isn't hidden in her behavior. It's hidden in what your own heart has been trying to tell you for months. A healthy relationship usually gives both people room to remain themselves. Not perfect versions, real ones. You don't have to shrink your opinions to avoid conflict. You don't have to earn kindness by constantly proving your value. You don't wake up wondering whether affection has expired overnight. Instead, there's a quiet confidence. Not because nothing ever goes wrong, because both people keep choosing honesty over games, respect over power, understanding over winning. That doesn't mean every day feels easy. It means difficult days don't erase your sense of safety, and that difference matters more than many people realize. Maybe you're thinking about someone right now. Maybe certain conversations are replaying in your mind, the long silences, the apologies you made without fully understanding why, the times you ignored your own discomfort because you were afraid of losing her. If that's happening, don't rush to judge her, and don't rush to judge yourself either. People stay for many reasons: love, hope, history, loneliness, the belief that tomorrow will finally look like yesterday once did. None of those feelings make you foolish. They make you human. What matters now isn't rewriting the past. It's deciding what kind of future allows you to remain whole. The strongest men I've met weren't the ones who never fell in love. They weren't the ones who always knew exactly when to leave. They were the ones willing to face an uncomfortable truth without running from it. Sometimes that truth was, "I deserve a conversation," instead of assumptions. Sometimes it was, "We both need to grow if this relationship is going to survive." And sometimes it was, "I can't keep abandoning myself to keep someone else from leaving." That sentence is painful, but it can also be the beginning of peace. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind. The kind that lets you sleep without replaying every text. The kind that lets you laugh without wondering whether it's acceptable. The kind that reminds you that love should never require you to become a stranger to yourself. So if she shows one of these signs, don't panic. Don't assume the relationship is doomed. People can change. Conversations can heal. Mutual effort can rebuild trust. But don't ignore patterns that slowly erase your confidence. Pay attention to how the relationship shapes the man you're becoming. Because in the end, the greatest warning sign isn't simply what someone else reveals about themselves. It's whether, after loving them, you still recognize and genuinely respect the man looking back at you in the mirror. And if the answer is no, that may not be the end of your story. It may be the moment you finally begin writing a better one.